Hi Taurus, welcome to your June reading. So the title of your June reading is Value Square. What does that mean? That means that in June you're really wondering about your value. You're wondering if other people value you, but you're a little shaky on your own value. And for some of you, it hits you out of nowhere and you're sad about it and you're just wondering, like, with the recent experiences I've had, is it me? Can I be loved? Am I lovable? Will I ever be loved? Now, from personal experience, I can tell you that whenever you start to feel that way, it's right before somebody comes into your life and really loves you. So don't get too sad about it. Don't let it overwhelm you. The real question underneath it is, do they value me? That's where it's stemming from. It's not, do you value you? You know you do. But it just seems like all the efforts you've been making recently, like, why aren't other people valuing you more for it? Wheel of Fortune. Don't worry. Things are going to turn around and they will turn around in your favor, inshallah. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's coming. Venus moves into Cancer and you want to have some real talks. And if you have any doubt about anything, whether it's a work relationship, love relationship, friendship, if you have any doubts, if that intuition pipes up and is like, cut it, leave it, walk away just like that. Walk away clean. Please don't trust anyone from your past. No matter what they tell you, the thing is, you may not see that this is on the way. You may be in your feelings. Like I said, it's always right before something great happens that you have this dip. You may not see it, but the people who would use you and manipulate you, oh, they see this already. And that's why they're on their way back. And please don't trust them because they will take this from you if you let them. If you let them in. Now, Mars in Leo. Oh, Mars in Leo is so stubborn. Oh my God, you're so stubborn to begin with. Oh, what a dangerous combination. Just please don't be stubborn. If someone's trying to tell you something and you do trust them and they're someone that, like, they're really your ride or die, don't argue with them. And when you yourself learn something, don't be stubborn with yourself either. That's the other thing. Don't lead anyone on. I've had to nip this in the bud recently, like where I realized one of my friends was like catching feelings for me and I was like, no. Like, yes, it would be more comfortable to say nothing and watch it play out. And I guess in a way it would be an ego boost, but the pain that you can cause that person, the relationship you can ruin is just so intense. Like, you don't need that energy in your life and you don't need that karma. So if you don't have the same feelings for someone as they do for you, please let them know. And if it's going back to that thing about not trusting them, you don't have to necessarily tell them that. You just need to tell them you're not interested. And Tauruses are going to have to do this a couple of times in June because you still have this very magnetic thing going on. Well, you always have that, but it's still intensified. So there's a lot of people just coming under your spell. And as much as it's not your responsibility to tell them otherwise, be nice, tell them. Okay, seeds to be planted, 7 of Pentacles. Long-term financial planning is the move right now. It's very hard to do that when you're feeling inadequate and insecure. So it's important to get that under control. Understand that your value is not in question. Understand that these transits, especially Saturn-Uranus square, Uranus in your sign, it's really hitting you hard. Put that to the side. Learn to deal with it. Don't let it affect your value in your own eyes and your self-image, and make some long-term plans. Now, these long-term plans have to do with things that you came up with in February, but now you have to revise them because things have changed, right? That's it. Nothing's worse. It's just different. So if you're intractable and stubborn, different is going to feel like worse, but it's not. On the 20th, Jupiter goes retrograde. Then it's time to cut expenses. Then it's time to You've made this long-term plan, you've revised your finances already, so you don't have to do that, because if you wait until the 20th, then the universe is going to revise your expenses for you. So if you do it before then, perfect. And then when on the 20th you feel things start to slow down, you can cut your expenses according to this plan that you've made. The solar eclipse on the 10th in Gemini is where you are hiding from yourself. That's what's exposed, where you're hiding from yourself in terms of whether or not you feel that you are allowed to be wealthy, whether or not you feel that you are deserving of it. The solar eclipse on the 10th shows you what's holding you back from being this person. So that's really good, because then between the 10th and the 20th, you have time for 10 days to really revise things according to what you've been doing to hold yourself back. And then on the 20th, you start cutting expenses. It's actually kind of perfect. Whatever you're hiding from yourself, that solar eclipse is going to reveal. No unnecessary purchases. Make yourself a budget. Why? Not because money is scarce, but because you're working towards this absolute financial freedom. So you're not doing it out of a sense of lack or fear. You're doing it because you've set up a plan that makes you long-term wealthy. The stress over money could easily affect your health. Notice all the cards here. The Wheel of Fortune, the Seven of Pentacles, and the Queen of Pentacles is all about money. So money can really stress you out and affect your health if you let it. Don't let it. There will be some love, some attention that can take your mind off of it. Just make sure it's not somebody who's already tried this game with you before and left you hanging. Please don't do that. And also don't be someone's toxic ex. Mars enters Leo. Yeah, I said it. Mars enters Leo, and your ego is on display. Where you sabotage yourself, where you trip over your own ego, it becomes really obvious to you, either because something happens or because you're just insightful and you're quiet and you allow these downloads to come in and you realize some stuff about yourself. Or you're going to trip over it and then be like, oh, wow, that is something to trip over. And you'll stop doing it. Either way, you'll learn something. Check in on your family. Be that loving person who reaches out and calls and texts and makes sure people are okay. They'll love it. You'll love it. And it's the first step to breaking some real toxic patterns with your family, which is important, you know? There's one more thing here. A lot of the people that are coming into your life, they want to use you. That's the easiest way to put it. They want to use you. And it's so painful because you've done so much. And some of these people are like people you really thought were like very good people. And now you're realizing that your attention, your voice is what they want. And it's not out of some love for you. It's not because they respect you. It's not because they love you. It's because they want from you. And once they get what they want, they're out. This is also why you can't trust anyone from your past. Because they want to use you. They want to establish these false connections, and they know that you fall for it. So now let's talk about why you fall for it. You fall for it because you're much softer than you seem. And so when you have this hard exterior and you spend so much of your time defending it, defending that armor, as soon as someone is vulnerable, you see in them something that you would really like to be. And it makes you soften towards them because they are displaying something that's true in you. But what you've got to realize is that it's not true in them. It's a ploy. As much as you do have these horns and this temper and this possessive defense mechanism, they see right through you. They know you're mush inside. And so when they approach you mushy, they know that it's the crack through which they can get in. Now that's exhausting, because as a Taurus, you look to others to be that soft emotional center that you can relate to. So to realize that that is the technique that people use to manipulate you, it's a hard blow. And it makes you not want to trust people, which isn't easy for you to begin with. So that's also difficult. So you will find yourself in June at many times feeling very alone, because if I can't trust the people that open up to me, and I have a really hard time opening up to people, then I'm just alone. Well, no. Along with being able to see through those who would use this underhanded trick to get to you, you're also going to very easily be able to see through people who are like you, who have this hard shell, but are really good and soft and kind inside. And when you come across these kindred souls, instead of taking them at face value, you'll be able to see right through to that soft center, and you'll be able to relate. And this will bring some very true, supportive energy into your life. So don't get lost at the beginning of the month feeling alone. You're not alone. You've just got to revise the impetus that leads you to let people in. You often push away the right people and let the wrong people in because of what I just said. Mercury retrograde, especially in Gemini, can be a very harsh messenger of truth. But it's only harsh if you take it out on yourself. For example, if you're wondering about your value, if you're wondering if you are lovable, sending you someone from your past who would manipulate that fear by loving you just enough to get close to you, to use you to get what you want, is a very harsh way to learn that you cannot look for your value in others. But it gets the job done and it gets the point across. But if you realize it on your own, you don't have to go through that hard lesson. So it's important that when you do start to feel this sort of fatalism, will I ever be loved? Maybe there's no point. Maybe there's no point in even trying. Understand that that's going to prompt from the universe a lesson in how to never look for your value in how much other people love you. I'll tell you what my mom always says. She says, people talk bad about God. Behind God's back, who are you? Why are you expecting people to be good? People can't even be good or say nice things about their creator. Who are you? So don't get too caught up in how much other people love you or don't love you. Don't get too caught up in this need to be loved. Although we all have it, it's in our hierarchy of needs, I get it. We all want to be loved. But when you realize in mid-May how open and vulnerable that leaves you to the wrong people, hopefully you'll seal that door forever. And the hope is that you come out of June with this monumental epiphany that the love that you have, this deep, from the depths of the earth, the roots of the world love of a fixed earth sign. When you realize that all the love in the world is in you, and that the only thing at this eclipse you'll see, the only thing sabotaging that is your desperate need to see it in the eyes of another person. When you finally let go of that need, ironically, it'll come to you. You'll see July, August, so many different kinds of partners, so many different opportunities, so many different chances at love, but you'll be so much smarter. And you won't be taken to the heights or the depths depending on how they react or don't. You'll be able to keep an even keel when you first meet them, when they pay a lot of attention to you, when they don't pay attention to you. You'll be able to judge them accurately because they're not feeding a starving person. You're full. You're full. You're more than full. You're content. It's beautiful, and it's slow, and it's quiet, and it's immensely powerful, and it radiates. And that's you. That's your core. That's you being a true Taurus. Who doesn't love that? Everybody loves you. Cut it out. So that was, that's the, let's say, Western explanation. I'll give you the Eastern explanation. Are you crazy? You're so beautiful. You're so lovely. You're so helpful. You're so smart. You're so sexy. Everybody loves you. Cut it out. Love you. Hi, Taurus. Welcome to the second part of your reading. Okay. Well, this reading is called the value square for a reason. That Saturn-Uranus square, it really wants you to revise whatever was going on in February. And for a lot of you, the key word is value. Now, whether that's your value, your inherent value that you see in yourself, or the financial value you see in your work, or somebody else's estimation of your value or worth. These very sensitive points come up, and it can get a bit uncomfortable, especially since Mercury retrograde started a few days ago. You may have already felt some difference in your money. It feels like money is moving away from you, but then at times it feels like really big opportunities are moving towards you, and the ebb and flow of the money can be a little bit uncomfortable because as a fixed earth sign, you want the money to come in and stay. So that fluid nature of money can become very confusing for you. You find yourself misplacing or losing things, which is not like you. You've got to chalk that up to Mercury retrograde, and the sadness that comes with it is also a part of that Mercury retrograde effect. Well, why is it happening? It's happening because you are best taught value, you are best taught worth by the taking away and giving of material. So some of you have something taken away. Others of you are being asked to take something away yourself, right? You know what's good for you. You know what's not good for you. You have been prompted since the retrograde began to put away that which you are absolutely sure is not good for you. And that takes an investment in self, right? Now, the Wheel of Fortune does, however, imply that June is a very fruitful month. Part of that is because Venus moves into Cancer, and you've got this really sharp instinct now But this sharp instinct is all about being real. Anyone who's not being real with you, you can sense it. You want nothing to do with them. Any doubts that you may have had about people, especially people from your past, they're much more pronounced now. Let me put it another way. Anyone that you have invested in the past that has disappointed you, if they come back around, you cannot trust them, and you realize that right away. But also, even if they don't come back around, you're thinking about how much you've put into other people and how much you've lost betting on the wrong people. Now, that may not seem like a road to success or abundance, but look at it a different way. When you see that clearly, you know what never to invest in again. You know what sort of person to never invest in again. And hopefully, by the time we reach the end of June, you realize that the only real investment that gives you the return you're looking for is the investment in yourself. Now, some of you can take this quite literally. Some of you may find that at the end of June, you decide to go back to school, get some sort of enhancement, invest in a collective, invest in some sort of asset, buy real estate. You're learning how to think like a wealthy person. And the secret to wealth is knowing that you are your greatest investment, that your instincts are to be trusted, that your safety and your happiness do supersede everyone else's around you. Now, if you're not a Taurus and you're watching this, I know that's going to trigger you. Well, you can't laud them and appraise them for being self-centered. Well, it's not about being self-centered. For the most part, Tauruses have done for others, and they've done so to their detriment, where people take from this generous earth sign and without so much as a thank you, they leave and then they come back and they take some more, and then they leave and they come back and take some more. So if you're on the receiving end of their good graces, and now it triggers you that I'm saying that their smartest and best investment is in themselves, then you can see how it is time for them to think about them. And no, that's not easy, and it's not comfortable for anyone who would want them to keep doing otherwise. But I digress, because this is not advice for the cross watchers. If you glean something from this, great, but this is really for Taurus themselves. So anything that you have doubts about, any person that seems to be too forward with this cup, especially someone, alhamdulillah, bless you, especially someone who you have connected with in the past, if you have any sort of doubts about them, hit the brakes. Hit the brakes right away. Now, Mars in Leo, it will push you to be intractable. It will bring out the stubbornness in you, of course, because Mars is in a fixed sign. It's going to fire up that stubbornness within you. But don't let that stubbornness become a weapon you use on other people. Even if there is something here, even if this person is not to be trusted, don't lead them on. Don't rack up any bad karma just to get back at somebody, you know? It's just not worth it. I don't know what that sound is. One moment. And we're back. Okay. Now, the reason it's important that there be no outstanding expenses is because when Jupiter goes retrograde, you see how this is all about money in one way or another. Even though this doesn't look like it's about money, it is. Because your emotions are playing a really big role in how you're spending money. And if somebody comes back from your past and you let them in, you're going to have this overwhelming feeling to self-soothe when they show their true colors again. And it can really mess with your budget. So if you have a plan starting on the 10th, by the time at the solar eclipse, by the time you get to the 20th, Jupiter retrograde, you don't need to revise your income strategy because you've done so already. This stress about money, if you don't handle it now at the beginning of June, so before you get to the solar eclipse on the 10th, it can have an adverse effect on your health. You may already be feeling this sense of loss, right? It's very easy for that to bring you down. But it's more inflamed by this Mars in Leo that kind of pumps up your ego and makes you go, why? Why is this happening to me? This isn't fair, right? When you could be using that energy to notice where your ego kind of springs up and where you defeat yourself. Where are your self-destructive tendencies? Instead of giving into them and living through them, you can sit back and observe them if you're not emotionally attached to this money flow, this ebb and flow, right? So, super, super important to extricate yourself emotionally from this ebb and flow of money. Once you do this, everything else comes into focus, right? The other thing here is that money is tied to how your parents thought about it and their parents before them. And if we look closely, we see that money-related trauma is generational. So a lot of you aren't just exploring your relationship with finances and your relationship with the wealthy mindset. You're also breaking generational bounds, shackles here by changing your mind, changing your relationship to it, changing the emotions surrounding it. So you can see now why it's so detrimental for someone who has not a single good intention for you to come back from your past and derail this progress and derail this process. Because this is something that is so vital for you to move on to this next stage of wealth. This temperance energy tells us that you keeping your emotional balance, keeping an almost abstract distance from the ebb and flow of money is what brings you great success. Because we know as June rolls in, you're gonna be fine, right? If you knew now, walking in June 1st, that although things will come and go, they will be lost and they will be found, inshallah. If you know that, then you would relax when it happens because you know that July everything picks up again. So keep yourself calm and use this time to see where those indicators are, what pops up, and use those observations to your advantage. Rid yourself of whatever baggage you have around the idea of being successful, the idea of having money. A lot of times what happens with Tauruses, which is funny, not funny, ha, but is that you have a certain number in your mind. Whenever you go above that number in savings or earnings, you have this irresistible urge to spend. And you can be really luxurious with yourself. Now, you may think, well, that's just my nature as a Taurus. Yes, but it's also because your settings, they make you, okay? They force you to make these subconscious micro adjustments that make you get rid of that excess money, because in your mind, you're not allowed to have more than that number. You're not spending out of happiness. You're spending to get back down to that number that you feel you're worthy of. Saturn-Uranus square is really going to kick your ass showing you that. So when you get to that point in July where you see that amount that you have go above that number again that you feel you're worth or worthy enough to have. Do your best to wrangle with your subconscious, to rehabilitate it, and to not get rid of the quote-unquote excess money. One of the best things you can do is to constantly, as you make more, as you save more, constantly redefine what that ceiling limit is. That's one of the easiest ways to do it, but it requires constant effort. Okay, another way that you can do it is, like I said, as of the solar eclipse, if you have a budget in place and you've accounted for all the things that make you comfortable or happy, when you start to get that feeling, oh, I have more than I should, I am going to spend this now, and you look at your budget and it's not on your budget, honor that. Honor the promise that you've made to yourself by making that list of things that you need, and don't venture off of it. Okay, don't stray from that list. That's another way. With enough repetitive behavior and positive reinforcement, you can change that setting and you can push that number up higher. And it's not just for accumulation of wealth either. There are things you really want to do. Things that really bring out your passion, and they require money. So this leads me back to, are you worthy of pursuing your passions? Are you worthy of saving enough so you can do so? And you can see how deep this question gets, and you better believe that Mercury retrograde is going to take you deep with it. So, learn the lessons. Allow yourself to change, to rehab. Okay? To find your value anew, my darling. I love you, love you, love you. I'm going to get into extended right now. We're going to shuffle through for each card, but then we're going to go through the whole deck as well. And just take a look at late June into early and mid-July. I'm going to talk a lot about the different astrological placements, astrological transits as well. Especially that Saturn-Uranus square. I feel like we need to pull a few cards for that. If you are subscribed to the Patreon Taurus tier or the Taurus plus the Za tier, then you saw the first part of this video on May 20th. And you're seeing the second part early as well as the extended. So if you're interested in having a look at the videos early, come on over to Patreon. The extended video is, as always, still available on Vimeo and as a PayPal link if you're more comfortable with that. If you are interested in a personal reading, there is a Cameo link below, which will lead you to a Cameo site where you can order a 7 to 10 minute personal recorded reading that is sent to you. And if you are interested in these rings, this is the World, which goes on sale in just a few days. There is a link for the Quietest Revolution rings below, as well as an Instagram link where you can check out Rev Fam wearing the rings, the earrings, and this new piece from the Nuzzer collection. Last but not least, if you're interested in taking a look at the astrological transits of the day and how they apply to your sun, moon, and rising, come on over to Instagram at The Quietest Revolution and join the Rev Fam. We have a lot of fun. I love you, love you. Let's get into the extended.